let me pop it up. Yeah, we can definitely go live. I just want to, let's see, pop this open here.
All right, we should be all good on YouTube live streaming now.
All
All for our 2 or
right.
3 viewers that are there.
Hey, you know what? I'll take them. Everyone counts for me. Good afternoon or good evening, I should say. It's very slightly after afternoon here. So, um, but good evening, everybody. Welcome again to another FPVFC Town Hall. I do have just a few articles, not a lot. The news cycle is very kind of restricted right now, not a whole lot that's kind of impacting us at the immediate moment. But I do have a couple cool things to share, as well as some information on some work that we did. What about a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 full years, um, that has kind of made its way quietly into existence. And I've mentioned it once or twice during the past couple town halls, but definitely some cool stuff that we are excited about. So to get started, we did get asked to take a look at this, and let me go back here and share my screen. Let's see. Pick the right one.
Yeah, don't share the wrong screen. We don't want to see whatever else you got going on there.
Well, I let's see. Let's pop this up. Hopefully this is the right one. I'm not sure. So we've got the career progression and privileges. There's a link in the Discord, or a picture posted in the Discord. So I'm just kind of taking a look at this from the first part. So testing licenses, privileges, scale with complexity. CBO hobbyist pilot must register. No testing requirements, which that is actually not true. Must follow CBO safety guidelines and allowed in only flight allowed only in FRIAs. So if you register, there is always going to be a testing requirement, which is the trust. So that is right as of right now. That's currently false. There is a testing requirement for anybody who wants to fly, whether recreational or commercially. So if you're flying commercially, it'd be a Part 107. If you're flying recreational, it's the trust. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what the trust is at this point, it's takes about 15 minutes to go through. It's impossible to fail. It's a one and done kind of test that goes through, some of the basics of safety and regulations and whatnot. Um, that several different organizations are hosting, including the one we're recommending, which is the Pilot Institute. Great guys over there that are really focused on helping people pass those tests, including the Part 107. I think, Dave, you've got uh, a subscription through them for the Part 107, yes?
I do, yes.
And
It's excellent.
as well as very
Good
active
material.
in the industry in terms of participating in discussions with the FAA and stuff like that. So good deal with there. So then we've got non-CBO. So we've got a non-CBO hobbyist pilot.
Hay suficiente como para que yo coma. Y le queda ahí. O sea,
Whoever's talking right now, if you could do me a huge favor and just mute your feed.
It looks like Leston there is not muted.
no.
So I'm curious, maybe Bruce can explain, where does this graphic come from?
¿Ah? Nada con.
It was in a news story from SUAS News, and apparently it's a proposed changes to the system. Now, I was told, but I've got no second party confirmation, that it was something that was in a FAA presentation at some stage. So it is one of the proposed changes to the system. Now, it may or may not be right, but even if it's something that's been presented by perhaps one of the commercial drone operators, we know how much influence they have on the FAA versus the hobby. It would be somewhat concerning if this was a progression that they saw to the whole system.
Yeah, it definitely would, because now I'm looking at the non-CBO. So if you're in a CBO and you're a hobbyist pilot, it's basically saying you're only allowed to fly in FRIAs. Now, if you're a non-CBO, it says you must register, must pass the trust test, must possess and follow safety standards, and flight allowed in Class G airspace. No FPV, BVLOS, which is beyond visual line of sight, electronic path, or commercial ops, and you're limited into Class G airspace. And then basically, then only a Part 107 would be allowed into Class C, D, and G, or C and D airspace. Obviously, G would be allowed for a hobbyist pilot who passes the trust test. And then Part 107 advanced commercial pilot would be unrestricted. Yeah, that would be concerning. This is not the path that I feel like we're taking right now. But if this is a proposed path, that would definitely raise some flags with me.
Yeah, we are seeing thin end of the wedge things going on, and this is a broadening of a wedge as far as I can see.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
so
we can dig into it, but yeah,
yeah,
I'm very
absolutely.
skeptical. I'm very skeptical and not as wired or anxious about it. I don't think
Yeah,
this
I'm
group
not.
is.
I mean, from what we know from the work we've been doing, this is not the current path that the FAA would be on. In fact, I would say that there's honestly some opportunity to go almost in the opposite direction here. But at the same time, we'll keep an eye on this, and absolutely, and Bruce, I will take a moment and watch your video on it, because that's going to be pretty interesting.
The fact
From
that
everything that
it even mentions FPV is an interesting sign, because at least it means we've made enough noise to be noticed by the lobbying
well,
groups.
yeah, but I would flip that on its head and say that FPV is actually gaining recognition as something that's safe and prevalent. In fact, the recent advisory circular went so far as to really dig into FPV more so than we've seen at any point in time in regards to CBOs and whatnot. Now, yeah, that's very strange, because I've not seen anything saying that if you're a CBO and a hobbyist pilot and you're flying only in a FRIA, that you're not required to take the trust exam. Everything that I know is that any recreational flyer is required to take that, period. Am I incorrect on that, Dan or Dave?
That's my understanding as well. Yep.
Okay. So yeah,
we,
we'll definitely dig into that. That's concerning.
Plus, when we look at the directions and the latest actions, taken, there's a K through 12 DAC that we're involved in.
Depending on their area and the requested on the request of the particular airports, certain areas were designated as either zero ceiling, which means that no flights could take place there except with specialty waivers, all the way up to 400 feet. And generally, the zeros were in the airport itself, and then any flight path of incoming and outgoing airplanes. Or aircraft, I should say. And then it would progressively work its way back up to 400 feet. And again, this was all data that was derived from the particular airports, given to the FAA, and then would be under review every couple of years, and shifted as necessary. As we all know, flight paths do change. Sometimes it's a point of contention in some municipalities. But and then those altitudes would change, and what those altitudes were basically you were allowed to, let's know that you're flying. And you're submitting anonymous information and letting specifically other drone pilots know that you're in the area. Um, and it's effective whether you're a hobbyist, a commercial pilot, or first responder. It allows others to see where you're flying. That way, you're not intruding on each other's airspace. Now, again, this is not, you know, for the general public. This is for other hobbyists or other pilots, I should say, hobbyists or commercial. So pretty cool. Notify and Fly is essentially um, we consider it would be an effective alternative to remote ID. Um, and it's basically on you as the pilot to put your information in and let others know that you're flying in the area. So Aloft keeps rolling out some pretty cool stuff. I feel like they're and they've been very engaged with the hobbyist community as well. So for those who don't know, Aloft, formerly Kitty Hawk. So
And so
that's pretty cool.
to build on that, the Aloft is free for recreational use, and that has been the case and continues to be. And so we regularly thank the CEO John Hagrains for that. We also worked with John on yet another drone advisory committee where we worked on and talked about how things like Notify and Fly might be utilized to better use remote ID information for improved situational awareness. And so this notion of intent, I will fly here, this is what I plan to do, we feel could provide the foundation for, well, maybe we don't need a remote ID if we're going to say we're going to fly in this volume of airspace. So step by step, we'll keep working this. Got a good ally in Aloft, and one of the folks that's as Josh said, working in to help small commercial as well as recreational operators.
Absolutely, and there is a great video on how a classic case of Notify and Fly would work in a replacement of remote ID. I believe Flight Test, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, did a video with, I believe, with Google Wing, showcasing Notify and Fly, and they did a great job, kind of explaining it and showing how it works. And basically, you just segment off an area that you're going to be flying in, and kind of claim it as your space, and it shows other people that you're flying there, and just kind of keeps it simple. So pretty cool. Definitely recommend checking out that flight test video on Notify and Fly with Google Wing.
Yeah, that was
All
way
right.
back before any remote ID stuff really came out. It was sort of a proof of concept.
Kind of like a precursor, yeah. And it was kind of like well, we were talking about this before, and so pretty interesting. All right, so
flying cows.
This is yeah, I know, it's kind of cool. So these were drones put out by AT&T. They're called Flying Cows, which stands for Cell on Wings, and it's a new technology at providing wireless coverage during natural disasters and big events. So
but they don't have wings.
Well, I mean, you could consider a propeller a spinning wing.
Absolutely, just a rotary wing.
So it's a cell site situated on a drone engineered to bring wireless LTE coverage up to an area of 40 square miles. That's impressive.
These devices were lifesavers in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. I have family in Puerto Rico, and this was a game changer.
Looks like it's a octocopter. It's got 8 props on it. Let's see. The weather-resistant drone can withstand extreme conditions. Thermal imaging can help search and rescue teams find people in buildings, tree cover, and thick smoke. So this is definitely a multi-use drone, but even as just a primary source of cell service when towers go down, when power's out, this is extremely impressive. So potential to hover over 300 feet, connected by a tether that's attached to the ground, which means they can essentially power this from the ground via battery backup. So flight time could be almost absolutely um, limitless as long as you've got the battery or generator power to keep it flying. The one in the picture looks like a helicopter. The one in the article actually looks like a let me paste this in here.
Octocopter.
Yeah, the
Hey,
thumbnail
Yeah,
that's in the Discord chat is very different than the picture inside
the
the
one in
article.
the
yeah,
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 absolutely.
you caught it.
I didn't even see that it showed a helicopter in the Discord. Um, So it has provides constant power to the flying cow via fiber, giving the drone unlimited flight time. Capabilities allow it to soar 500% higher than a terrestrial cell on wire on wings mast, expanding how far the signal reaches. Though more drones can be added to widen the coverage area.
I would
So they
guess that
utilize.
power is actually not from fiber, but from a copper
Yeah,
tether.
no, yeah,
Unless they've changed how much electricity you can shoot through light through a
through fiber
fiber.
optic. Yeah. Let's see. So they have deployed these down in Louisiana after Hurricane Ida. So this is definitely a game changer after any kind of natural disasters. It allows loved ones to get in contact with people who may be, you know, injured or just find people, make sure they're okay, family members and friends and whatnot. And I mean, that's a huge deal, and I think it's a great use for a commercial drone. And props on AT&T for that. Pretty cool. All right, so last but not least, and I did say it was a slow news week, so this is last but not least. Upcoming September 13th through the 19th is the FAA's Drone Safety Awareness Week. Um, if you go to, let me pop the link in here. They run this every year. I think this is the third year that they've run it. And currently, these are the slates of events. Now, there are a couple that we know for sure are missing because we have been working with the FAA to get some events on the books for this, and specific to recreational, and even more so specific to FPV. Um, so several of these are hosted by individual organizations. For example, the Prescott AZ drones. I'm just going to pick on this one. They are hosting a safety awareness, looks like webinar. This is Embry Riddle's Prescott campus, which is just a hour and a half north of me. Um, and so you can join in on any one of these. Now, the events that we've been working on is a 4-night kind of series, or a 4-night series. With it's called Droning On After Dark. And we're hosting, or the FAA is going to be hosting some panels. One focused on FPV freestyle, one focused on FPV racing, a third focused on RC modeling, which would be traditional modeling. And then the fourth event would be essentially a multi GP virtual race. So I believe they're going to be racing using um, Velocidrone, and that's going to be streamed live with a couple of the multi GP pilots. So um, it's going to be hopefully it'll be pretty cool. We've got some good speakers lined up. I'm not going to ruin that surprise right off the bat, but definitely suggest checking it out. We've been working on it for, I don't know, a couple months now, really. And I think it'll be interesting. And then with hope to kind of expand this further, next year and the years going forward. Um, I won't be shy in saying one of our goals is to kind of create almost like uh, uh, an FPV or recreational kind of expo, similar to the commercial drone expo that's going on. More of an in-person event. Think about um, I don't know. I'm trying to understand the crowd, but maybe a Comic Con or a something like CES, but for drones, where both pilots and companies can come together. You can have booths set up, you can have gear being sold, people can debut their latest and greatest technologies. You can have panel discussions. We can have events like drone racing and um, drone cage fighting, battle drones, and drone soccer and all the different things that people like to do recreationally for drones, and have it completely focused on recreational. That's kind of what's in our books, what we're working towards. Um, and but this is kind of the first step. So please help us out, spread the word on the droning on. As soon as it gets posted, the scheduling gets posted on this website, I will send that out via our Facebook and in here in Discord as well. So that people can participate if they want to. Again, it's going to be kind of like a panel discussion where it's going to be hosted by one of the FAA folks, and essentially teaching the FAA and any viewers, new viewers who aren't familiar with FPV, kind of what the different aspects of FPV freestyle, FPV racing, and kind of the derivatives of all of that, as well as RC modeling. Teaching that to the FP or the FAA and to any viewers, as well as kind of the best ways to get into the hobby and how to join and build that confidence and build that trust with the general public at the same time. So definitely something we're proud of working on, and hopefully we'll see that kind of expand out in the future. So with that, that's all I have. Dave, you got anything for us?
Oh, we've been busy in the Beyond Visual Line of Sight Aviation Rule Making Committee, and I'm hopeful more and more that that will be made when that concludes in the November timeframe. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have a public report for that. Lots of smart people working on that. We're also working on a review of a white paper that identifies the safety metric for the fundamentals for drones. And I'm hopeful that we can get some changes on this. If we make some changes, it will affect every safety regulation for all drones in the United States. So it's significant. Then we're working on a K through 12 drone advisory committee tasking group, and that's exciting. We are because this picks up on the societal benefit that we worked on with the gender neutral drone advisory committee tasking. And this is like, well, how can we get kids excited? How can we make sure that aviation STEM related topics are incorporated into curricula across the country? So we're doing surveys about what's available. We will reach out to the Department of Education so that we're looking for precedent and how best to integrate into both classroom as well as extracurricular activities, that we can help both stimulate the interest for pilot and non-pilot education as well as jobs out there. So this is gaining momentum, and I'm pretty excited about that one. I think it'll be a great presentation. That one will be slotted for February. It not only a great presentation, but I think it'll have significant impact on how the U.S. is looking at aviation-based STEM. So I think that's an important topic. And the rulemaking recommendation should also be significant. And we are also continuing on working, dotting I's and crossing T's with the ASTM rulemaking work. And so, as we've talked about in the past, let's see, the American Society of Tables and Measures, I believe it is. It's an international standards body. I'm a member of ASTM now on the remote ID working group, F3411, if you're keeping track. And the the ASTM wrote a standard on remote ID. A lot of it was taken on by the FAA as they created the remote ID final rule. And in the FAA final rule, they stipulated the requirement for a means of compliance. And so the ASTM standard goes into great detail and specifies what needs to be done for a means of compliance. So the manufacturers involved include Parrot, Autel, Skydio, DJI, as well as other manufacturers, including Horizon Hobby, as well as crewed or manned aviation, as well as UTM, unmanned traffic management companies, Airbus, Verizon, AT&T, etc. And so this is a veritable who's who on what's going on in remote ID. This document will go to the FAA, hopefully within next couple of weeks. It will then be approved by the FAA, and then that could be picked up by companies to produce a remote ID module or a remote ID standard UAS. And so that will speed the development time, I would estimate, by a year. And so it will be just less than a year that it will be out and available for the companies that I mentioned to produce remote ID products and to do the development, get it out, and then comply with their deadlines to meet the remote ID standards or remote ID regulations. Pardon me. So we're it's extremely busy right now. I'm with Josh. News in the UAS world is not too high, but my goodness, we are extremely busy on
A lot
lots
of work behind the
testing
scenes.
groups. The BVLOS ARC as well as the ASTM work is all going on simultaneously.
Absolutely. All right. I did want to touch on one thing. I saw that Volatronics kind of popped it up. Is Tyler Brennan's lawsuit. I saw that there was a video from Josh regarding it. I haven't had an opportunity to watch it. We have read over the documents that were sent over to the court. There are some things that make a lot of sense. And there are some things where I'm not sure of, to be completely fair. But at the same time, whatever avenue we can utilize to address regulations, I think is an avenue that's worth taking. We choose one path, other organizations choose other paths, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and we hope the best for Tyler and what he's got going on over there. So I will check out that Bardwell video. I haven't had an opportunity to see his kind of breakdown of it. I know mine.
I caught the first couple minutes of it and had to move on to something else, but I did catch that they anticipate a response from Ryan said DOJ, not DOT, but they're expecting a response in the October timeframe.
Okay.
And that's a response to the document that they wrote.
Well, that'll be interesting. I'll be excited to see what comes out of that for sure. But again, definitely appreciate all the work that Tyler and his team is doing on their aspects. Every organization has its specialty. He's doing a great job with his stuff. We're trying to work from within and kind of have that impact that we can. We feel either way can be very successful. We know our way has been successful up to this point, and we will continue to do our thing to try and make the best of the hobby for everybody. Um, so yeah, I did want to address that. I don't, yeah, I will definitely watch it, Tex. And I try and keep up to date on everything that I can newsworthy. That's kind of my jam. So, um, but only so many hours in each day, unfortunately, and I haven't had an opportunity to see that. I did see it posted on Facebook earlier this afternoon, though. So I'll check that out, and we'll see what happens. Definitely excited to see the response for sure. Dan, do you have anything for us this evening?
Nothing new this time. Nope.
Alex, I see you lurking on here. Are you hiding?
Working on homework while listening.
Okay. All right. As long as you're doing something school related, that's absolutely perfect. All right. So I will probably just go ahead and give you back 18 minutes of your evening then, unless anybody's got any questions or comments that I can or that we can discuss. Anything?
Okay.
All right. Well, then we'll see you in another 2 weeks. And that will be, I'm just checking my calendar. Just after drone awareness or drone safety awareness week. So hopefully we've got some stuff that came out of that we could discuss. It looks like a bunch of good stuff. So definitely go there, check it out, check the different webinars and different kind of series that are going to be available there. And then look out for our posts for the Droning On After Dark. I feel like those are going to be pretty neat too. Something that we haven't seen before with the FAA involvement. So that'll be pretty cool. So, all right. Well, thank you all for coming. Good crowd tonight. And appreciate it as always. And we'll keep doing what we do so that we can keep flying. All right. So have a good night, guys.
Thank you.